Hi, church family. It's no surprise to anyone when I say that this season of ministry has been and continues to be unique. Regardless of how we feel, COVID-19 has changed a great deal about what we do and how we do it on a weekly basis. There have been members of our own church even who have personally experienced the effects of this virus. And while this virus varies in its impact from person to person, many people that I have known personally have had serious struggles with their health for a prolonged period of time because of this virus. According to the CDC, the Georgia Department of Health, and a daily report from the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, GEMA, the number of positive cases and the hospitalization rate have all increased dramatically over the past few weeks in Georgia. Widespread testing has been available for months now, and the percentage of those tests coming back as positive has increased. GEMA recorded on June 14th of 2020 an availability of 31% of critical care beds in Georgia in our hospitals. A little over a month later, where we stand today, that latest number of critical care beds in Georgia stands at 12% availability. That's a direct correlation to the spike in cases we've seen with COVID-19. Has there been confusion and conflicting information about the virus in recent months? Yes. Has there been blatant hypocrisy and ill will among some government leaders in their response? Absolutely. But that does not change the fact that we must take this seriously as a church out of concern for our neighbors. We must also take our calling seriously, especially in these times. Hebrews 10:24 through 25 tells us this, "And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching." I want us to notice this about this passage. On one hand, we should consider one another as a part of being a part of the body of Christ, the family of God. And on the other hand, we should not forsake the assembling. Both statements are equal in authority. Both statements are worthy of following. And both statements should be our heart in this season. In fact, they're really linked together as a part of the same mission. I'm thinking about really what Jesus says with the great commandment, that we should love the Lord our God with everything that we have, and that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. These two things are related, and they can never truly be separated. And with that in mind, you'll hear me say a couple of phrases often in the coming weeks. One is this: as we make plans and as we make preparations for other ministries, we want to have this as our goal: doing the most we can as safely as possible. We don't want to give up on the mission. We want to keep going. We want to not only survive this season and make it through this season as a church, we want to thrive in this season, all for the glory of God. And so that's going to be our goal, doing the most we can as safely as possible. Now, that means with everything else going on around us, it complicates matters, just as we've seen in schools, we've seen in families, we've seen in jobs these past few months. Any industry really has been impacted because of this virus, but the church in particular, as a gathering and as a ministry to the community, we've been impacted as well. So we want to have this as a goal, doing the most we can as safely as possible. The second phrase you'll hear me say often, and I'm actually going to preach through this over the next coming months as we study the book of Genesis together. Second phrase you'll hear me say is own your faith. This is a unique season that we find ourselves in as followers of Jesus. And I want us to focus in and hone in on that idea of owning our faith. These are our goals as a church, and I think these should be our goals and your goals as a family. This is a difficult season, but I'm personally recommitting myself to the work God has called me to. As we seek to resume other ministries and activities, there's no doubt that things will look different for the time being. Our plan for the next few months is oriented around our church purpose statement: worship God, disciple believers, and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I want to start with our plans concerning worship and worshiping God. We are keeping the 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. services for the time being with precautions in place. We'd originally said our target date for going back to a regular schedule was in August, but for now we're keeping the 9 a.m. and the 11 a.m. services with precautions in place. Mask and physical distancing are still highly encouraged, and this allows for us to spread out more, and hopefully more people will start coming back in the coming weeks. We're going to be engaging more with online options. We know that around 100 people in our church family have understandably not joined us back in person. We want to meet you where you are. I've asked Braden Shelton to be our new social media ministry leader, and he's going to be engaging with people in online services in the live chat function. He's going to be helping to answer questions, helping with follow-up with guests and everything else with our online options. We're going to continue to publish sermon notes and put those out on the website every week, and do a discussion guide that you can walk through together as a family. We're going to continue pushing our live stream out there on Facebook and the recordings on YouTube and on our website. And we also have the sermon on a podcast every week. You can look up whatever your favorite podcasting app is, and you can probably find the sermon from the previous Sunday on there. And so we're going to use every possible opportunity to engage people in our services. I also want to do this in the coming weeks. I want us to offer an online training for how to worship at home. I know that there are still some families that have been worshiping at home throughout this whole season. Nothing can ever replace the gathering of the church, but we know our more vulnerable members have needed to worship from home during this time. And we want to meet you where you are and help equip you in as many ways as we possibly can to make that a wonderful time for you to grow in the Lord as you worship from home. Secondly, with discipling believers, what our plans are concerning that. Our target date for starting back with in-person Sunday school is going to be August the 30th at 6 p.m. And that's going to allow for a temporary period, allow for us to do the two services more effectively, for us to have Sunday school at 6 p.m. And our target date for starting back with in-person Sunday school is August the 30th. Precautions will still be in place. We're going to continue with online lessons as well during that time, just to be able to give people enough of an opportunity to join in with Sunday school. And we want to prioritize and get back to Sunday school in person. It's going to be a ladies' Bible study that's going to start on August the 18th that Beth Alexander is leading. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to join either at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. on Tuesdays with this ladies' Bible study. A lot of the things that we're doing is going to be incremental because the reality is the more ministries we add on and the more ministries we get back up and going, we have to be considerate of what's taking place around us regarding the spread of COVID-19. And so we want to be diligent, but we also want to be intentional about when we start ministries and how we start ministries back up. I'm going to be starting a discipleship group that's going to start out as a texting group, and this is going to be for fathers or any man that wants to become a father or be a father figure in other people in their lives. And this is going to be for men to prepare for fatherhood, or if you're already a father, this group is hopefully going to be helpful to you as well. And I believe this is a critical season for fathers to lead their families spiritually. And so you can text the following phrase at SBC Fathers to the number 81010. And when you do that, you'll be added into our texting group. And then we're also going to work in the next few weeks about getting some maybe Saturday morning breakfast together. And we're going to do some discipleship work and study the Bible together concerning fatherhood. Our target date for starting back with in-person Word of Life is going to be Wednesday, September 2nd. This will give us enough of an opportunity to get everything in place and to get our volunteers in place. Children and student ministries are going to model the precautions that we have in place in our local schools. And so what we're looking at is going to look similar to how our local schools are responding and getting back in the midst of COVID-19. Here's the wonderful thing about Word of Life. We have quiet time devotional books that we utilized last year, and they're going to be available this year to purchase online. We'll have more information about that soon, or you can purchase them in person like you did last year. The kids' books are $10. And if we have to change our schedule at all in the coming year, we can continue with discipleship in the home with Word of Life. That's really the whole purpose of Word of Life, is to equip parents and grandparents to help do discipleship in the home. And so Word of Life is a wonderful opportunity in the midst of this season to really grow and thrive in discipleship through the quiet time devotional books. There's going to be online classes starting at this Sunday at 5 p.m. for children on Facebook Live and for students through Zoom until the end of August. And you can see McQuaid for more information about the Zoom meetings. Sarah, my wife's going to be leading the Facebook Live children's lesson every Sunday at 5 p.m. So both of those will start at 5 p.m. on Sundays. Our goals for proclaiming the gospel in the midst of this season. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be preaching through the book of Genesis with this idea in mind: own your faith. This is a unique season, especially in the Western church, because we are so used to doing everything really centralized at a location. But what we've found in these past few months is we as Christians need to be equipped to do discipleship, to do evangelism, to study our Bible, to pray, to worship, wherever it is that God has us in that moment. And so we want to grow and thrive in that. And the reality is that discipleship, evangelism, all of these things that we do as a church, it's not a program of the church. It's just simply a part of being the church. You as a member of Second Baptist in Cedartown, you are a part of the church. And so we want people to own their faith, to take ownership of it, to take it to heart, and to thrive in this particular season. And that's what we're going to be focused on. There's going to be a change in our Sunday school curriculum, and I'll talk more about that later. But it's going to, I think, be very beneficial. I've been talking to our teachers about it, and we're going to have the opportunity to take material that's been created and then also create our own material. And we're going to form part of our Sunday school lessons in the next coming quarter around the study of the book of Genesis that I'm going to be preaching on in the next few months. Also, with proclaiming the gospel, we will be intentional with our follow-up of online and in-person guests, and we've got several different ways that we're doing that. One is if people are a guest online, people can text SBC Respond or SBC Connect to the number 31996, and it automatically sends them back a text message, and we can start that process of following up with them and reaching them wherever that person may be. And so we're going to do all that we can to meet people where they are in this particular season, especially online, but even in person. We're going to really revamp our efforts with follow-up and with reaching out to people and meeting their needs. So we also have to maintain flexibility in scheduling for the health of those that are attending. And I've listened to some healthcare professionals in our congregation and outside of our congregation as well, people that I know and trust. And one thing that I've heard repeatedly is just we don't know a good bit about how it spreads, especially we know that it spreads asymptomatically, and that's one thing that we have to take into consideration. And but there are so many other things about the virus that there's just simply unanswered questions in this particular season. So if we have someone attend in person, with COVID-19, we're going to resume completely online services and ministries for a temporary period. And hopefully that wouldn't be a long period, but I think that that would be best if that was to happen in the future. Each family in our church is in a different place concerning this virus. And it's imperative that we strive for unity, that we consider our fellow neighbors, and seek to honor God in this unusual season. There is no ideal circumstance about resuming our programs, when and how to do it, and there's no possible way that every person in the church is going to be satisfied with the plans that we have in place. Matter of fact, that's really not our goal, honestly. Our goal is to honor God and to do as much as we can, as safely as possible, to love God with all of our heart and also care for our neighbors as if it were ourselves. And so my prayer is that we rely on the strength of God in these days. Thank you, and I love each and every one of you.